Well, thank you, everyone. It is wonderful to have everybody here this morning and a great debate morning. Debate has meant so much to so many of us. I was able to go to college and have so many opportunities because of debate and the people who supported us. And I want to welcome you on behalf of Augsburg University and the Augsburg Board of Regents. I am fortunate to be the board chair at Augsburg. And today we're featuring a group of talented young people from Minneapolis, St. Paul, and the Roseville Public Schools for the 8th Annual Mayor's Challenge Great Debate. 2020 has presented all of us with extraordinary challenges. I don't have to tell you that. Health and equity being paramount. And we want to acknowledge the seriousness of those challenges around us, while also creating space this morning to celebrate our talented young people. We need their voice, we need their passion, and I'm very excited to hear from them this morning. And before we introduce our VIP panel of judges and students, we want to thank everyone who has made this event possible, including our event sponsors. So our presenting sponsors, we thank 3M and we thank Xcel Energy for their sponsorship for the Urban Debate League. At the advocate sponsor level, Lathrop, Great Plant Moody, Taft, and the Entenza law firm. I think I know something about them. Our partner sponsors are Hogan Adams and Lockridge Grindle Nauen. And we thank all the firms and companies for supporting debate. We're also very grateful to our table sponsors who are listed in your program, as well as the partnerships of the Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Roseville school districts, who have been extraordinary sponsors for UDL for years. Please join me in thanking the businesses, the organizations and firms and individuals who made the event possible. Thank you, because you're making an extraordinary difference in the lives of so many young people. And feel free to applaud at home. Thank you for what you're doing. Before we hear from the governor this morning, I would like to introduce our VIP panel of judges. You'll find our VIP judges and students' full biographies in your program. First, my mayor, Mayor of St. Paul, Mayor Melvin Carter, is the 46th and the first African-American mayor of the city of St. Paul, Minnesota's capital city. A fourth-generation St. Paul resident, Mayor Carter leads with an unapologetic equity agenda. Thank you very much, Mayor Carter. And from the west side of the river, Mayor Jacob Fry, the 48th mayor of the city of Minneapolis. Elected in 2017, Jacob is committed to increasing access to affordable housing, strengthening community police relations, and fueling economic growth through inclusive policies. Thank you very much, Mayor Fry, for being part of this today as well. Also joining us, John I. Marshall. John is the Director of Community Relations and the Foundation for Xcel in Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota. Since joining Xcel Energy in 2008, John has held various roles focused on relationship cultivation, development, and management with local governments and strategic accounts. Thank you so much, John, and thanks for Xcel support. And then last, but definitely not least, one of my favorite people and a great State Senator Jeff Hayden. Senator Hayden is a good friend of mine and brings tremendous expertise to our debate as our content expert with his longtime leadership on healthcare. And his work at the Capitol on healthcare has been extraordinary, and we thank him for all his work in particular to eradicate Minnesota's unacceptable racial disparities. Thank you so much, Senator Hayden, and we appreciate your being here. Before I introduce the students, it is my extraordinary honor to introduce our governor, Tim Walz, and the First Lady, Gwen Walz. And you know, these are extraordinarily tough times, and tough times call for great leadership. And we are so fortunate in the state of Minnesota to have two great leaders with the First Lady and the governor. And I suspect that part of that is some experience that they had in debate, because debate teaches us about civility, teaches us about science and the importance of science. And while passion is important, and certainly Gwen and Tim have plenty of passion for the way they approach our state, but they also approach it with their heads. And we know in debate, passion's important, but evidence is important too. And I so appreciate the fact that the governor and the First Lady and their entire team are leading our state on the basis of science and evidence. Some of you may not know that Gwen Walz, in addition to being a former educator, of course, they were both teachers in Mankato, and I forgive them for being teachers from Mankato because down in Worthington, they beat us in debate a lot over the years, and that was hard on us. But you know, we persevered. We knocked off Mankato a couple of times. But she is also a former speech and debate coach. And Governor Walz also joined Gwen in judging at speech and debate tournaments. So thank you, Gwen, for bringing him to the side of light so that the governor had those opportunities. The governor will now join us with some words of welcome. And then after the debate, the First Lady will lead a panel discussion with our students. Please join me in welcoming our governor, Governor Tim Walz. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Matt, and good morning. I apologize. You heard earlier from the governor's dog, Scout. So hopefully he's a little placated right now. But to each of you, thank you. To our mayors, thank you for the incredible leadership that you exhibit every day, the partnership and the friendship in times that are trying, but times that let us see a brighter future together. To our legislators who are on here, again, thank you. And I too would echo Matt's sentiment with Senator Hayden. I have learned much from Senator Hayden. I have watched him navigate some of our most challenging issues and do it with dignity, with passion, and with a sense of humor. And to our judicial branch who's here, again, working closely on so many issues, and our champion of change, David Lillehaug. I don't think there's a person on this call who hasn't been impacted positively by interactions with Justice Lillehaug, and I, for one, am forever grateful. And a special good morning to all of our debaters. It's an honor for me to be here with you. I told Gwen when she got me involved in speech and debate, and I was, of course, coaching football and those types of things, and I just remember the first thing leaving one of those rooms after the first time I was judging is, we need to do this in the middle of the football field so that everyone can see how simply amazing it is that each and every one of these folks do every day. And Matt is right. We know what the research shows, that students involved in debate have higher success rates, higher GPAs, they take more advanced placement classes, and their acceptance rates into college are higher. Those things we can check with the data's on, but all of us on here also know the doors that it opens, and not just in the world for careers, but in our minds. And again, we're all competitive. We want to win, but we know that debating is not about winning. It's about the art of persuasion. It's about problem solving together, and it's about perspective. The best debaters live in the moment. And instead of thinking about what they're going to say next, they're truly focused on what the person they're debating is saying. And I think it's a lost art right now. I think as we take on these challenges that are around us, there's a desire to take a point of view and to stick with it no matter what. And as Matt said, to do the research necessary, to look at the evidence. And as I always say, if the facts dispute my ideology, you change the ideology, and that is part of the problem solving. So I'm just so excited for all of you. And I do want to say to Amy and this entire team, in an incredibly challenging year, finding a way to keep students engaged, finding a way to have meaningful interactions is so difficult, and you are doing it. And I, for one, am incredibly grateful. And so, of all the things we learn in debate, resiliency is one of them. 2020 is teaching all of us about resiliency and about the importance of what you're doing. And I do think the topic on health equity, again, you always look for timely topics. I'm not sure we could have found a better one. We are at the epicenter of the greatest health crisis the world has seen in maybe 100 years. We are also focused at the epicenter of the highest infection rates that the world has seen during this pandemic, right in our backyard. The impact on individuals, on communities, on families, on caregivers, on students will impact this nation for generations to come. It will be written about. And to have you focusing in the moment on the issue of health equity and how that has been exacerbated by the pandemic is absolutely critical, because you are, one way or another, it is inevitable, you are going to be shaped by 2020. And what you take away from this is the opportunity to learn from this, for us to find new ways of approaching problem solving, and for us to look at a brighter future. So I wish you all the best, and all of us on here know that those doors that debate opened, you'll never know where they'll lead you. And you may even, with supremely bad luck and bad karma, end up being governor, but that's a door that will open for you with debate. So thank you all, and I wish you all a great day.
Governor, before you go, could I
Yes.
ask you a question? This is Gwen. Could I
Sure.
ask you a question? Could you comment on the fact that probably the reason you are governor is because of everything I taught you about speech and debate earlier in the teaching period? Would you like to comment on that?
I've already conceded that point many years ago. We don't need to go back on that. I've given that point.
Okay, well then I'm going to go one further. In our daily debates, who would you say is the better debater? You or me?
I think we need independent judges to bring that to a close, but they are heated and they are fact-based. I will not deny that the passion is always there, but I wish you all the best. Certainly grateful for the opportunity to be with you.
Thank you so much, Governor. We feel very grateful to have your leadership with the state, and you and Gwen do bring all of that. I'm sure that your kids would love to judge those debates at home and be the ones who decide who the winner is. Now on to the actual debate. It's important for everyone to know that academic competitive debate has continued, and it's continued virtually during COVID. In the upcoming debate, you will see exactly how this works. Bright students working with their team, researching, writing their own arguments, and making their case, but doing it online. So today, advocating for the affirmative side, the best way to solve health inequities is a single-payer health plan, and this is representing the east side of the river, is Chikamso Chijioke of Como Park High School in St. Paul, and then Marshall Steele of Central High School, also in St. Paul. And I'm not saying I'm biased in this debate towards the affirmative, but two of my three sons were Central High debaters, so go Central. On the negative side, arguing that a better approach is a two-tiered health plan, Michael O'Neill of Roseville High School and Harriet Lindner of Washburn High School in Minneapolis. And now to the debate.
Hello, hello. My name is Chikamso, and this is my partner Marshall over there on the screen. And what I'm about to say is probably so obvious it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyways. There are lots of problems with our current healthcare system. That is why today my partner and I will be arguing that the United States should adopt a single-payer healthcare model. This single-payer model will be everyone paying into a government healthcare system, which then administers payment for everyone's healthcare costs. We also wanted to make this debate a little easier for our opponents, so they won't be arguing for the status quo, but instead for a two-tiered system. Therefore, we will be arguing the strengths of a single-payer system. To do this, I want to talk about three areas where single-payer healthcare performs better than a two-tier system: cost, access, and quality. As of now, our healthcare system is not only not cost-effective, it's just plain ineffective. Many people struggle to pay extreme costs for healthcare, especially with the devastating impact of COVID-19. CNBC found that 66%, a full 2/3 of all personal bankruptcies were directly tied to a medical emergency. A single-payer healthcare system would resolve these costs to individuals. It would also drive down overall costs because the government's controlling share in the market would allow it to bargain from a stronger position with companies. Sounds unrealistic? Well, here's a reality check. For the same vial of insulin, you would pay $300 in the US, but only $30 in Canada. Another important aspect to look at is that of access. Even if we ignore the financial horrors of our current system, a single-payer system would still grant more people more access to healthcare. According to the Commonwealth Fund's biennial health insurance survey, as of 2018, 29% of all US adults are under or uninsured. That is a whole lot of people. Numerous studies from around the world, like those from the OECD Health Equity Research Group, reaffirm that nations with single-payer systems have more equitable distribution of primary care visits from across income groups. Our current system also makes healthcare racially inequitable. Many studies, like that from the Commonwealth Fund, the CDC, and the New England Journal of Medicine, document how access to care is worse for minority populations by most measures, even though minority populations are more likely to have health issues. That doesn't add up. Single payer will increase access to healthcare for everyone. At this point, you must all be thinking, if people can't afford their healthcare and they don't have access to it, then at least it must be high quality, right? Well, not quite. Certainly, the US has some of the best healthcare systems in the world, including Minnesota's own Mayo system. But due to societal factors discussed above, elite medical systems are more likely to see a Saudi prince than they are to see someone from North Minneapolis. There are major barriers to quality care that will be resolved by a single-payer system. Cost of visits, restrictions by provider network, and restrictions by medical procedures would all be eliminated. With the government paying medical bills, private providers would have more incentive to provide high-quality care to everyone, as there would be no worries about defaulting on bills. A two-tiered system still relies on these inaccessible payment-first systems. In conclusion, based on the 3 points above, it should be clear that our current system is failing those who are most in need, and that the optimal solution is to adopt a single-payer system. Thank you for your time and attention. My partner will now answer your cross-examination questions.
So, Marshall, you and Chikamso, would you defend that healthcare is a right?
Yeah, we would.
Right, and you said that we need the U.S. government. What's their track record with rights?
The U.S. government's track record isn't perfect, but it's better than corporations, at least. Both are very flawed, but the government is at least accountable to the public, whereas corporations aren't accountable to anyone except their shareholders to make a profit. So they have no motivation to actually uphold rights, which is what we see in the status quo.
Okay, and we mentioned the SQUO. So would you and Chikamso defend SQUO is discriminatory towards people of color in terms of healthcare?
Yeah.
Okay. And you would also defend, or not defend, but you also agree that the government has been discriminatory towards people of color with rights.
Yeah.
Right, but has it been a legal right given to everyone as like historically?
Healthcare in the status quo? No, healthcare is not a right in the U.S. in the status quo.
But it'll just happen if you guys win, right?
Yeah, that's the entire premise of our plan, is that healthcare becomes a right that you don't have to pay for. Yeah.
Okay, and then moving on. So how long exactly does this take? How do we go from a discriminatory healthcare system now and a discriminatory U.S. government to an equitable universalized healthcare? Like what's the time frame for that?
So I'd say probably you're looking at half a year. The main delay is honestly just like deliberation in Congress. Bills take time to pass. Other than that, it's literally just rearranging funding and distribution of services to be more efficient and equitable.
Okay, so you and Chikamso are saying it take half a year to fix both the discrimination within the United States federal government as well as the discrimination you point out in the healthcare system now?
I mean, yeah, the main issue
as
is
well
deliberation in Congress.
As well as it takes half a year to deprivatize the entire healthcare system as well?
I mean, yeah, it's just a passing a bill. Everything else is just redistributing funds and services. Like, other than that, it's a pretty simple process.
If helping people of color in the SQUO is so simple as passing a bill, why hasn't it already happened?
Because as you pointed out, like, the government is discriminatory and healthcare exists to make a profit, and so puts large amounts of money into making sure it doesn't become universalized.
Okay.
That's like a huge lobbying thing.
Okay. That's time.
Hi, my name is Harriet. My partner is Michael. Today we'll be arguing that two-tier model of healthcare is the cure to our nation's ills. Everybody knows that healthcare is an expensive necessity, despite the fact that it is a necessity. The way a two-tier system would operate would ensure that everyone would have basic access to routine healthcare with the additional option to purchase healthcare coverage from a private market. To illustrate the superiority of our system, we'll be talking about cost, access, and quality. First, how a two-tier system would reduce the cost. The goal of a two-tier system would make it so the average American does not have to spend 20% of their paycheck on healthcare while still retaining the opportunity to get high-quality coverage for specific needs. Having a two-tier system would eliminate the majority of costs with our current for-profit healthcare system entails, without getting rid of companies' incentives to make the best product at the lowest cost to us. The second tier of the system allows companies to compete with each other, which incentivizes and reduces the costs to a larger market share. This keeps healthcare affordable and sustainable. Most countries have both privately and publicly funded healthcare, and it works well for them, or at least better for them than it does for us. Second, in a two-tier system, not having accessible healthcare would be a thing of the past. You no longer have to stress over wondering how to get healthcare because it can most definitely be accessible to you. In other countries such as the United Kingdom and many parts of Europe, they use a two-tiered health system. And on average, their healthcare is more affordable, accessible, and of better quality to its citizens compared to ours. According to Diana Brown, director of the Next System Project, only 20% of healthcare outcomes are attributable to health we receive. The other 80% are due to social determinations, lifestyle choices, and environmental factors. So retaining different access to opportunities in a flexible two-tier system is key to allowing these people to control and access care that the other 80% of healthcare factors. Last is quality. This is where a single-payer model has its real shortcomings. A single-payer model would completely hollow out the competitive healthcare system. As much as it admits is a government monopoly on the payment and would drive down the prices drastically, but this also means it would drive down profits. And hey, I also understand that not everyone is a big fan of the private healthcare system. I totally get that. But the big issue is that it's not the government that does the research or invents the best product. It's the companies who compete, and their competition creates better quality care. The US is the most competitive healthcare market, and it's no coincidence that we have the best quality care in the world too. A single-payer healthcare would go backwards at the advantage of price and the disadvantage of health. In conclusion, based on the evidence above, it is clear that a two-tier system is sustainable and the best interest of everyone else, while a single-payer model is unsustainable and one-dimensional. Thank you. My partner and I are now open for cross-examination.
Michael, do you think healthcare is a right? Just yes or no?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. And do you think people should have to pay to exercise their rights? Again, just yes or no?
No.
Okay. And so can you give me one example of corporations upholding the rights of individuals?
Well, first off, it's not necessary. I don't think the problem is with corporations doing it. I think that the government we trust with our lives are, the government that says that they will protect us and uphold our rights is the one we should be focusing on, and not the corporations.
That's fantastic. In the status quo, does the government distribute healthcare, or do corporations do it?
It's a mixture. I mean, obviously there's different forms of health insurance that you can get from private insurers, as well as there are governmental programs.
Okay. So do you think we should trust corporations to uphold the rights of individuals, specifically the right to healthcare?
I think that right now, as it is, the government isn't even doing it. So I don't think that we can even possibly expect corporations to do better than our governmental structure can at the moment,
that's great.
Or has ever done.
That is great. So I guess moving on, will health insurance still be mandatory? If
Health
so,
insurance
what's
is
the point in having two-tiered system?
So health insurance is not mandatory in the world of the negative, if the negative wins this debate, right? It's not mandatory because while we are able to access the same governmental basic care that you provide.
I just want to know if it was necessary or not. So moving on from that, what's the point in having it be two-tiered instead of single payer then? If health insurance isn't mandatory and you don't have to pay for it, why not just do full single payer?
Well, single payer has its faults. Looking at Canada, with the Canada is an example of a single payer state, and they have lots of problems there. So also the fact that the government already sucks with upholding our rights, especially the right to healthcare. And so if you give them all the power of that, if you literally give them the entirety of the power of life and death over the people they aren't respecting at all, it's not going to lead to anything productive. Instead, it's going to make the government a monopoly. It's going to make the government authoritarian over life and death over its citizens, pretty much.
Hi, everyone. My name is Marshall. So first things first, it's obvious that both teams want to provide some level of coverage for everyone. But only the single payer system of the affirmative team provides accessible, zero cost, high quality healthcare for everyone in all parts of their lives. The negative proposal of a two-tiered system will ultimately reflect the two-tiered nature of America. We'll go back to the three legs of the healthcare triangle to prove our argument. First is cost. As my partner laid out in her first speech, a single payer healthcare system is the most effective system for removing cost barriers, as in there wouldn't be any. In the two-tiered system, advanced healthcare would still cost money. Say you want to get an unnecessary but still recommended CT scan to check for cancer. It's going to cost you. Or you want medication to help with a non-debilitating but still painful headache. That's going to cost you. The problem with a two-tiered system is it doesn't eliminate the cost barrier. It just changes what care is kept behind that cost barrier. Healthcare is a right, and we don't lock our rights behind a paywall. Even if people would be willing to pay, they shouldn't have to, and under our plan, won't have to. And that's exactly what the neg and the status quo, want to reverse. Even if the government doesn't have a perfect track record with holding up rights, corporations will and have done worse. Second is the access issue. Our opponents claim that only 20% of inaccess is due to financial problems, but that's an inaccuracy of statistics. Sure, if you live in a food desert, then you have a barrier to accessible quality food. But why do people live in food deserts? Financial issues. Why don't people have access to transportation that can take them to a farther away grocery store easily? Financial issues. Why are people working two jobs and therefore don't have time to go farther out to get groceries? Financial issues. Reducing financial issues will resolve these access issues. If we get rid of those 66% of bankruptcies caused by healthcare costs that Chikamso talked about, then people can start spending their money on other access-related issues. Only the single-payer model can eliminate these costs to the individual. That would open up access opportunities, and people need money to access healthcare. Finally, on to the quality contention. Our opponents made the argument that a single-payer healthcare system will decrease healthcare innovation. Firstly, this isn't true. While there would be less competition, that doesn't necessarily mean health companies would stop innovating. For example, the US federal government has already funneled $10 billion with a B dollars into finding a vaccine for the coronavirus. But the government has given away the rights to patent it. So there isn't any reason that removing the private money part of healthcare would affect the development of medicine and medical technologies. The government already funds research. We're just making it so they also fund the distribution of the services provided by that research. In conclusion, even if the negative is 100% correct about the fault of single-payer healthcare, that it will decrease quality and innovation, it'd still be far better for everyone to have access to decent healthcare than it is to have a small privileged group be able to access great healthcare. If you want legitimately accessible, high-quality healthcare, you should vote affirmative. Michael, I yield the floor to you for the second negative speech.
Hello, my name is Michael, and I have a lot to say, so I'm just going to get into it. First, with cost, listen, the number one cost in healthcare is not what the affirmative would have you believe. It's not the price of drugs or the administrative overhead, and it's not even the evil medical companies, according that Chikamso and Marshall want to talk about. But according to the Department of Family and Community Medicine at University of California, the number one cost is overuse of the healthcare system. You know what doesn't stop people from overusing the healthcare system? Giving them a blank check for medical care. So sure, it may not directly cost individuals anything, but a single-payer model is going to supercharge the cost of the system, which will have all kinds of downstream effects that decrease both the quality and access of healthcare. This model is completely unsustainable in the long term, and only a two-tiered model can keep these costs in line while still providing access to quality basic medical care. And Marshall, it is not the marginalized, the we that you talk about, that want to pay or even insist upon paying for our rights. What alternative is there? When have our rights ever been respected by the government? Even the conception of what is a right in Western society was built to marginalize. If payment within a two-tiered system brings equity, it's a cost the marginalized would happily pay any day of the week. So moving on to access, here's a word the affirmative doesn't want you to hear: rationing. Given the overuse of our system, we can expect rationing to be fairly severe in the affirmative's model. Michael Diamond, professor of public affairs at the University of Missouri-Columbia, agrees. Based on studies done over the last 20 years, he found that patients in countries with a single-payer system, like Canada, are more likely to have their healthcare rationed, leading to both long waits and infrequent access for those in lower-income areas. The negative is the only viable strategy towards creating universalized healthcare in the near future, because we act right now to disempower private insurers and implement key governmental structural change as we go, instead of the affirmative's idea, which is literally just that we will cause a massive shift in society because we won this debate, and that they can solve systemic racism with something as simple as a bill in 6 months. And finally, let's talk about the quality. Healthcare patients are not the same. Each individual is unique and can require vastly different tools and treatments to be helped and hopefully cured. But the affirmative is proposing a single response to 360 million, listen to that, Marshall, million with an M, different people. They assume that what works for 1, 10, 100, or even 1 million can work for everyone. The affirmative wants to help minorities, and that's clear. But a healthcare system that is built off privileging the majority of anything will always create and disempower minorities. Just remember back to Canada's rationing. And under the affirmative's model, the common flu and broken bones become a concern of the past. What about those with late-stage cancer or a rare genetic disease? We need a plan that can account for individual differences, but at the same time provide for all, something only a two-tiered system can do. The US has the best healthcare in the world, which is driven by market competition. But a single-payer system would put the market into a critical condition and would be a death knell for innovation and quality. In conclusion, it should be clear that a single-payer system is a massive overstep, and only a two-tier system would get us where we need to be without overcorrecting our healthcare system or throwing the market into a crisis. Thank you.
So it seems the negative has made a lot of misleading characterizations of both the single-payer system and the two-tier system. First, they bring up the contention that a single-payer system disincentivizes market competition and quality. This isn't exactly the case. The private sector would still thrive. Regular citizens just wouldn't have to pay so much from care for it. It's not like the single-payer system would get rid of the research and innovation that the private sector partakes in, only that the government would pay for the care for the people. Only that the government would pay for the care that people choose. In fact, single payer would actually increase competition because more of the private sector would be available to more people, due to the elimination of the cost barrier and provider network restrictions. Furthermore, even if the wait times would increase under single payer, like the negative claim, at least people would be able to get the care they needed in the first place, instead of suffering some horrible outcome. And even if all the negatives arguments were true, you would still have to vote for the affirmative team at the end of this debate. That's because healthcare isn't about abstract concepts like the system or the market. It's about the individuals that healthcare serves. When we look at how the two plans impact individuals, it's clear to see that the affirmative is miles ahead. That's because this whole debate really comes down to the question of cost to the individual. Cost is a sliding scale. More unique and rare treatments are at the far end, and basic care is at the near end. But here's the thing. Health insurance isn't like car insurance. People don't choose to have or not have cancer. People don't choose the pre-existing conditions. People who are most disenfranchised by the healthcare system aren't there because they choose coverage A over coverage B. They're disenfranchised because they simply cannot afford the care they need. There may be all kinds of incidental reasons, but at the heart of this debate is the fact that people under our current model and the two-term system will still be left to foot insurmountable medical bills. And those people will largely be low-income persons and people of color. And this is where the health inequality comes from. So it doesn't matter how good the best quality care is or how readily accessible it is if people simply cannot pay for it. Only a single-payer system resolves these problems. And with a single-payer system, we can streamline the payment process, ensure coverage for everyone, and drive down overall cost of care. The two-tier system cannot do that.
Well, here we are, the final speech of this debate. So what have we learned? Well, single payer will probably resolve the cost to individuals, but in the process, they'll explode the cost to the system. This will lead to inaccess and low quality care, especially for those who already face access to quality and low coverage. As Michael so divinely explained in his speech, the main cost to the healthcare system is the overuse of the system. In a single payer system, the government would persuade incentives to reduce the costs. There are several ways this could happen. One is rationing, capping services that people can receive. This is a great example of how a one-size-fits-all system doesn't actually fit anyone, especially people who have those medical conditions that are deemed to have been caused by individual choices, such as a bad habit, an exercise, or are really symptoms of an unfair system, such as living in a food desert or working several jobs that wear out your body very quickly. Not only that, the cost reduction is going to lead to eliminations of redundancies. How many hospitals does Minneapolis need? And if there aren't different providers popping them up, where should they be located? Do we really believe that the government's redundancies is going to close the hospitals in downtown before they close them in North Minneapolis? I sincerely doubt it. Either way, getting rid of these redundancies is going to increase travel and wait times while reducing the quality of care. A two-tier system has the advantage of a single-payer system without causing all these harms associated with it. A two-tier system will provide basic coverage that will take care of the medical alignments of 90% of citizens. What we are really arguing about is the remaining 10%. A one-size-fits-all system is not going to work for this 10%. But even if it did, it would explode the costs and destroy the access of quality. The option to buy into extra medical services in a two-tier system would increase competition, innovation, and encourage companies to create low prices in competition while being high quality. None of these would happen in a single-payer world. As said in the first speech, the barrier to inequitable healthcare is financial for only 20% of people. For the other 80%, it's things like transportation. A private system would resolve these barriers by being more flexible, and a public system would make these barriers a lot worse. At the end of this debate, I hope we've made it clear that the barriers are not what people think they might be. In light evidence and the facts are clear that a single-payer system is too restrictive, while a two-tier system is a perfect fit. Thank you, judges, so much, and this is why you should vote negative.
Thank you all so very much. That's been our debate here, and let's head on over now to the Q&A panel.
Well, thank you so much, debaters. And that was a wonderful debate. And now I want to turn it over to our First Lady Gwen Walz for our reflection panel.
Good morning. How impressive was that? Like, it just takes your breath away, doesn't it? And I saw lots of things coming up in the chat, and even thinking like, this is the sort of debate we need. This is the sort of listening. These are the sort of arguments. I'm going to take it even one step back from that. I think we're at a point in our country where understanding and discerning sources and facts is essential. And that is one of the key pieces to even being able to put that argument together. And our student debaters did an amazing job with that. So I would like to just congratulate them on that. But right now we have a few questions to hear about their experience in debate. So could we have you each introduce yourself, and then let's take the first question, and you can go in the order that you spoke in the debate. And here's the first question. Reflecting on your time in debate, what will you take away from the activity after all the competition is over?
I guess that's me that's going first, right? Okay. So, well, debate, let's see. That's a tough question because, you know, I think one thing that is really important about debate, and one thing that I really want to take away, is not only the experiences of like in-round experiences and all the work we have to do in-round, but just the general, like the general vibe, the skills that it brings. You know, debate is actually the reason for my critical thinking skill on my resume. So yeah, there's a lot of skills that I've learned through it, a lot of friends that I've made, a lot of experiences I had, which is really great. So that was, yeah.
And could you remind people of the school that you attend and your name once again?
Oh, I'm Chikamso. I go to Como Park Senior High School. Go Cougars! Yay! So yeah.
Thank you. Our next debater.
Yeah. Hi. My name is Michael O'Neill again. I go to Roosevelt Area High School. And I guess the thing that I would probably take the most from debate is probably a combination of like the new perspectives you see, because obviously like 9th grade when I came into debate, I didn't know half the things I know now. I met so many different kinds of people and seen so many different ways to take just one subject that I think that like Chikamso, it's the people I met, but also just the perspective it gave me. Yeah, so.
Great, thank you. And our next debater?
Oh, hi, my name is Harriet, and I'm a junior over at Washburn High School in South Minneapolis. And I think one of the really wonderful things about debate is it makes you, it doesn't make it so you think in like a single story, like you think from all perspectives, and you can like be an outside thinker and think in terms of the whole picture, not only viewing one thing and then whatever you think, you just go with it. It makes you very open-minded to all types of different ideas and what works best for people, really. And I think I started debate in 6th grade, and I just think it's really wonderful to make friends in. I think it's a really wonderful and welcoming community, and I think it's a really great extracurricular for colleges and for everything.
Thank you. Oh my goodness, maybe we should all agree to start every morning this way because it's so inspiring, isn't it? Right? And it also reminds me, and no offense to the adults on the call, but it reminds me of how much I miss working with students. So it's so great to hear your reflections. Here's question number 2. What makes debate different from other extracurricular activities and experiences that you've had? And could we go in the same order again, but you don't have to say your name and school.
Okay, let's see. That's a very good question. I think debate, like without it, what makes it different than other sports and stuff is that you gotta always kind of be thinking one step ahead. You know what I mean? You always got to be thinking, okay, what could the other team say? How could I answer their arguments? You know, what could they bring up? How could I counter it? This, and that. A lot of back and forth that has to be going on in your head at the same time, which can be kind of difficult sometimes. But you know, as you do it more, you get better at it, and I think it's really great. But yeah.
Thanks so much, Michael.
I've done a lot of activities in my lifetime. I got like 6 years of football under my belt, 3 years of basketball. So like, I definitely know that between like, you know, more physical activities and debate, there are a lot of differences. And I feel like with those type of sports, you grow in your skill. Obviously you grow in, you know, making friendships and connections and things like that. But I think what debate uniquely offers is not only do you grow in your skill in the sport, but it also allows you to grow as a person. Like, I mean, like, yeah, I tackled plenty of people, but I never challenged my way of thinking before, you know, on the football field. I never thought differently on, you know, how should I tackle a person, you know, like, or whether that's right or wrong or something like that. So I think debate allows you to grow as a person as well as growing in your skill.
I completely agree with what Chikamso and Michael just articulated. I also think that debate, I think it makes you like a way better listener. It makes you very attentive to like what the other person will do, in not a way that's very critical of what the other person is. Like, of course, you want to respond with your opinion and or your evidence and make it more factual, but you don't want to be harsh and critical. You want to take in what the other person is saying. And in any activity, I think it makes you more like, it's not so much about yourself and what you say, it's also about what the other person does and say and how to respond to that in a critical but positive way.
Those are excellent answers, even better than we would have expected. So I so wish I could be in a classroom with all of you. Chikamso, let's do the last question and go around the panel. What would be your pitch to other students about why they should join debate?
Oh man, it's so funny because one of my partners, we've been talking about this earlier, and we were like, well, how do you get people to join debate? Anytime somebody asks, well, what is debate? It's always so hard to answer because it's like, it's everything at once, you know, it's a whole lot of things that you have to be thinking about. And it's really hard to get someone to be like, well, what is debate? When I tried explaining to one of my friends before, I really just said that it's an activity that you can do to better your mindset. You know, it's an activity you can do to help yourself grow in your thoughts, in the way that you think about things, in your perspectives. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of, you know, late nights typing up things and rehearsing your flows, your speeches and everything. But it really helps you like in all areas of life. I think it's really important. So yeah. So basically the answer, you gotta just, it's just really great. I don't know. It's so hard to like say how great it is in like a way that won't scare people away, you know? So yeah.
Thank you, Michael.
I guess if I had to like, I don't know, pitch this to other students, I guess what I would say is that debate like Chikamso said, it's something for growing your mindset. It's when you want to learn more about the world and other people's perspectives. And yeah, there's a lot of late nights. There's definitely a lot of early mornings too. But all in all, debate helped me find out a little bit more about myself. And I've seen it help other people in that same way too. So I think regardless of the work, I think debates is definitely a place to come if you want to, I don't know, just get a step ahead, right? Like, want to better your mindset, better your work ethic, know yourself a little bit more. Debates this place for you. And that's all I'd say.
Great, thank you. Harriet?
I honestly don't think there is a reason why someone shouldn't join debate. Maybe that's my biased opinion, but I don't think there's a reason why people shouldn't join. I think another really great factor of debate is that it makes you more aware of situations, and it makes you more of a historian and aware of situations that happened in the past. And like I'll be in IB history and I'll feel like super on top of it just because I have 6 years of debate where I've just been taking in information, and like I know, like right now we're going over like the Bill Clinton presidency and I know all about it from 8th grade. And it makes you feel really, I think maybe to quote like Schoolhouse Rock, like it's like knowledge is power. And I think that when you feel knowledgeable and you feel smart, I think it makes you more motivated to get involved, and it makes you wingspan better.
Well, I think you all are fabulous ambassadors for debate. And I think maybe I should line you all up to help the governor get ready for the legislative session, the upcoming legislative session. That might be a huge help to all of us in the entire state. When people ask that question, ask the question to me like, how do I get involved? What's activism? What could I do? One of my first answers always is, join the debate team, because I think it's how you learn, how you develop your own voice. But you all said it so much better than I did. I just want to thank you for letting me be part of this morning, and the governor also. He's already on another briefing. I'm sorry he couldn't stay for all of this, and I'm going to go join him. But we're just so grateful for the Urban Debate League and for all of your work, and for the students working so hard, and for the sponsors, and for the mayors, and for for all of you being here this morning. It's just the greatest start to the morning that I've had in a very long time. Thank you all, and best wishes.
Well, thank you so much to First Lady Gwen Walz and our amazing students for sharing your thoughts with us today. I am just, as Gwen said, incredibly grateful to our First Lady, to the governor, and to our students. And I'm grateful to all of you for tuning in to hear from our students. Now, I'd like to take a moment and imagine with me that it is the year 2040. We've conquered COVID, but continue to face even greater challenges: climate change, racism, growing income inequality. Our students, though, are in their mid-30s and are leaders in business, politics, and the law. They bring to the leadership table both their expertise of lived experience, as well as their knowledge of research, evaluating arguments, and listening to others' points of view. They know the difference between arguments built on facts and arguments based on fear. They know how to persuade and how to listen. They are prepared to lead. The bad news, perhaps for all of us, is that global challenges will not go away on their own. But I'm here to say, don't despair. I'm inspired. The good news is that we can take direct action today to invest in our talented students to prepare them to lead. We have a generous donor, Carl Engstrom, who has pledged a matching gift of up to $3,000. And with all of your help today, we can meet that match. You can make a one-time donation, or you can join our monthly giving program and be an advocate for debate. Global-sized problems require the best prepared leaders possible. They require a debater. Can you join with us? And while you champion our students, I'm excited to share with you our Champion of Change honoree, Justice David Lillehaug. Our Champion of Change Award is in recognition of Justice Lillehaug's years of service to Minnesota, from U.S. Attorney to the state Supreme Court. Let's take a moment to hear more about how debate shaped his leadership path.
Justice Lillehaug has worn many hats. He's done so much in his career. He's been an attorney for a long time, a judge, public service. He's won cases and he's lost cases. He's supported political winners and he has supported political losers. But for Dave, it's not always about winning. I mean, that's important, but it's not the winning, but the giving.
All the way through junior high school, we were in similar classes and did similar things. And then in high school, in 10th grade, 3-year high school in Sioux Falls at the time, we became friends and colleagues on the debate team.
My dad was the director of bands at Augustana and a music professor. And so as I was growing up, I was kind of torn. I was very interested in music and played the flute and the piano, played in the municipal band and high school band and orchestra. But on the other hand, I was really interested in public policy and, as it turns out, in the law. And that's the direction debate pointed me toward.
Told all of us young folks to do this debate camp because we needed the work. And thinking, well, I might be one of the oldest debaters on the team, the likely to be a varsity debater the next year. I thought, well, I better do well. And then listening to the critique and thinking, wow, I have a lot to learn. As David was very detailed, encouraging, but at the same time, just very challenging. I think I even told one of my friends later, I don't remember the exact words I used, but something along the lines of, that was a blistering critique.
He would break down the argument in such a way that you understood where your weaknesses are, where your strengths were, what you needed to do. So he's had this talent for a long time. He's just able to communicate this talent to others so that we all learn from it.
Republican Party started a government shutdown litigation also while Governor David wasn't in office. David Lillehaug was representing him, continued to represent the governor at that point. As that litigation was beginning and he saw my name float across, to his credit, he picked up the phone and called me in my office. I answered. He just said, Diane, we're just starting this. Who knows how it'll all turn out? Had contact with each other. Let's just chat. He said, I read your bio, and he just started literally having a nice, pleasant conversation. Governor Dayton showed real wisdom in that he ultimately appointed David to the Minnesota Supreme Court, mentoring and suggesting things to me, as well as just maintaining that relationship, which, I can't help but attribute to our start in debate, which is neat.
David, from 7th grade on to this day, inspires and elevates the people around him. And that's one reason I'm so proud of what he's done in his career and where he's gone and what he's still got left to do, by the way.
High school students who really want to understand Dave Lillehaug, just remember that he won a lot of debates. He taught people how to win them. But in the end, the giving that he has done throughout his life, the giving of himself through teaching and mentoring, that is what's made a difference. And that is a path of a life well lived.
And to present our Champion of Change Award, I'd like to introduce Charlie Nauen, attorney and partner at Lockridge Grindle Nauen.
Thank you, Amy. It is with honor and pride that I present the 2020 Minnesota Urban Debate League Champion of Change Award to my dear friend and Washington Warrior high school debate partner, David Lillehaug. Justice Lillehaug is and always has been a champion of change. As I said earlier, elevating people around him, even back to junior high school and high school, while improving the organizations and institutions that he is devoted to. And debate deserves credit. The self-discipline, the creativity, the analytical skills, the art of persuasion, and also learning how to win and to lose have served him well in his illustrious career. But there is something more, and that is David's heart. From his earliest days, he has always been on the side of those who need help and those who are less fortunate. Fellow debaters, bring your heart and your passion to all of your pursuits from this time forward. David, to you, congratulations. You are indeed a Minnesota treasure.
Charlie, thank you so much for that very generous introduction. You were my debate partner, and now you're my partner in a friendship for life. Governor Tim Walz, your virtual presence today is a real gift. It conveys a heartfelt message that you are more than a public servant, you are an educator. And First Lady Gwen Walz, I didn't know about your background in debate. It's great to have an advocate for debate in the governor's residence. To MNUDL Board Chair Bob Groven and Director Amy Cram Helwich and the entire MNUDL board, thank you so much for this champion award. Now I'd like to talk to the debaters that are online. If the video didn't emphasize it enough, I want to say publicly and say to you, I owe so much to high school debate. As an attorney cross-examining during depositions and trials, it struck me that much of what I learned in high school debate. And during the last 7 years sitting on the Minnesota Supreme Court, I would sit and read and organize my thoughts to come to a decision. And I would use a flow chart. Those are the kinds of skills you're going to learn, that you know how to research and analyze complex issues working on affirmative and negative arguments. So to the students debating today and all debaters who are on the line, please treasure your minutes, hours, and days in debate. It will absolutely do you a tremendous amount of good over the rest of your lifetime. Congratulations to MNUDL on another year of success. Thank you for this award, and best wishes to you all. Be well and stay well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Justice Lillehaug. It's just a remarkable achievement that you've done over the course of your career, and we are so grateful for your support for debate. So thank you very, very much. Now we're going to hear from our VIP panel. Our audience should be using the polling feature by choosing either the affirmative team or the negative team. And now let's hear from our panel. First, my mayor, the mayor of St. Paul, Mayor Carter. What do you think about the debate, Mayor?
Thank you so much. I absolutely thought it was fantastic. All of our students, like, this is amazing. This is a challenging format, I know. Believe me, I think certainly Mayor Fry and I know Governor Walz and the First Lady have done plenty of format kind of in this type of format, talking into a computer screen or talking into a camera phone or something like that as we work from home. It's a challenging format. Debate is hard in the first place, but doing it like this is a challenging format. I would say, you know, all of you clearly were very well researched. All of you clearly thought through your arguments. You used data and research very well. You cited your sources. I thought you did a bang up job of not just kind of making arguments, but listening to one another to understand kind of what each other was saying, and being able to kind of refute and use data and research, you know, in your citations to kind of jump back against kind of what it was saying. That every single speaker had your own unique talents and your own unique a way of laying out your argument from, you know, and I want to make sure I'm trying to pronounce names right, from Chikamso. I'm sorry if I messed up your name, but from your like calm ability to walk through the facts to Michael's kind of bubbling energy that was kind of exciting and fun to listen to. It was a lot of fun to hear. Just a couple of thoughts is make sure that as you're talking to a screen, you're not really talking to a screen. You're talking through a screen to people. one thing that I've learned to do is put the photo of kind of somebody who I'm talking to or the people I'm talking to right up under my webcam, so that way I can look people in the eye and kind of have a human-like interaction, which reminds me to slow down, have a conversation, and inflect and do all those types of things that we naturally do, always more naturally in a direct conversation. I gave my vote. I thought it was really, really close. I gave my vote, and part of it, the challenge is, we all have strong feelings about this debate. So trying to disconnect ourselves from the strong feelings that we have about it and just connect ourselves to the arguments that are presented in the debate, which is something you guys have done very well. I appreciate that. I agree with the First Lady. When you're done at the Capitol, come on down to City Hall and help me out with a couple of things. I'd appreciate your help there as well. In a very, very narrow vote, I gave my vote to the negative team.
And now Mayor Fry from the great city of Minneapolis. Mayor Fry.
Thank you, Matt. This is now the third year that Mayor Carter and I have done some judging on this particular event. And every year it gets better and better and better. I mean, just incredible job. Chikamso, what I loved about you is you began with a presence. I think you asked the question, does this sound unrealistic? And then you went on to explain how it was absolutely visionary and smart and the right thing to do. I think that was definitely the right way to point it out. And you kind of went through, you had point 1, point 2, point 3. We followed it very well. There were a portion where you were a little bit on the quick side, but I know you're also trying to jam a lot of information into a relatively limited amount of time. Marshall, you had a great point in there where you said, can you think of a single example where corporations have upheld all of the human rights? And then you start thinking back to it. Not sure we can think of any of those examples. And you talked about also most effectively removing cost barriers as well. And that was a really strong point. I noticed that both you and others use the term moving on in the cross-examination. And I don't think you need to use that term. I think you can just move on rather than say it. Michael, you opened nicely with, you said you would concede that healthcare is a right. And you said, can we actually ensure it through government? And I think that was a fair question to ask. And I think, the most important point that you made, which I found extremely persuasive, was you said, can we actually get this done in 6 months? And that got me right there. I was like, I have no idea how you get that done in 6 months. It was an excellent point. And then Harriet, really excellent enunciation from the very beginning. You made it, your argument made the two-tiered system feel doable and realistic. You used a great example, and making an analogy to the UK and how they work things. So just, I'm blown away. The debate is such an incredible tool. I think you all highlighted it. You all are going places, and you're gonna be the mayors and the governors of 20 years from now, and the scientists. But I want to also impart that you're the leaders right now. I mean, you're the leaders right now in a big way. Very narrow decision on my side. I agree with Mayor Carter on the negative side, but my God, really amazing job all around.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. And now John Marshall, the Director of Community Relations in the Foundation at Excel.
Thank you, Matt. Good morning. And again, echoing the sentiments of my fellow judges, outstanding job, truly inspiring and just a wonderful experience this morning watching all of your preparation. Just great civil dialogue, organized thoughts throughout, and I want to commend you. Chikamso, you, as mentioned earlier, you set the table with such a structured, organized argument. Body movement was a little bit distracting, but overall, I mean, you just really kind of set the bar, I think, for a lot of the rest of the debate with just how organized and delivered you set the table. So hats off to you. I really enjoyed that. Harriet, appreciate your reflection, and to all of you, the vulnerable offering of yourselves in this debate space. Harriet, you're reflecting on debate meaning so much to you and started in 6th grade. I commend you. That's so impressive. And taking debate and allowing it to have you look at an argument really in 3 dimensions is it's pretty profound for that type of a reflection on how you take up debate. So again, hats off for your work. I echo Mayor Carter's reflection on Michael. Your energy was captivating. I enjoyed it. I like seeing that injection in the debate. And I would say, Marshall, as well, you were like a solid rock there, immobile with your response and back and forth. Frankly, the debate between you and Michael, Marshall, was fascinating. I really enjoyed that. Some great shots across the bow, respectful, civil throughout. And again, hats off to all of you. I really just so enjoyed it. And then to echo First Lady's comments, I think we all are just starting the day off so inspired. So thank you. Close call on the judging. I'm on the affirmative side. So hats off to the affirmative team in particular this morning.
And last, the great state senator from Minneapolis, Jeff Hayden.
Good. Well, thank you guys. As my colleague said, this is a fantastic display of how to make your argument. I tell you, we could use you today. We could use you in January to come to the legislature and teach some of us how to make a debate civil, smart, well-researched. It's really important, and I think that that's a lost art these days. It's difficult for me for a couple of reasons. One, I actually had everybody even in terms of the judging, and I couldn't believe that the numbers came out the same. And secondly, I spent a lot of time on healthcare and really understand both sides of the debate. I've actually authored the single-payer healthcare bill a couple of times in the House and in the Senate, and I've also worked really closely in the system that we have today and helped to create the healthcare exchanges and the basic health plan, and also have really helped to support the expansion of Medicaid, which has helped so many people in our state get health care. So for me, it's really hard, and I was trying to not kind of like get into like my version of what I think the argument would be versus the way that you guys have so well researched and thought about this. I will say that there was a couple of just quick critiques, is that both Marshall and Michael, though I loved your spirit of debate, I would caution you to make sure that the other person can finish their sentence before you interrupt. We control that a lot by having to work through the president of the chair of the committee, and that's how we're able to kind of do that. But you didn't have the luxury of that, especially in this format. So it isn't a heavy critique. It was just something that I wanted to make sure I heard each side, and I know you were really interested in making your point. Now, in the law, in a courtroom, Charlie and Matt and Justice Lillehaug and other lawyers here, that might be a tactic that you use, but in the legislature debate, we try to work through the chair. But with that being said, I think that Chikamso and Marshall, I thought got the nod for me. I think that there was a little bit of some exaggeration on, at least from my perspective, on the negative team about kind of what a two-tiered system would be. And so I just thought that both groups use kind of like access to healthcare for low income, poor and poor people of color as really kind of the impetus. And in my mind, I think that the affirmative team, if I use that as the tiebreaker, really made that pretty clear. So I'm going to vote for the affirmative.
Thank you so much to all of the judges. Thank you, Senator Hayden. Thank you, John Marshall, Mayor Fry, and Mayor Carter. Before I announce the winner of the debate and the votes are in, I have them in a sealed envelope here right below my video. I want to thank all of you for participating today. I want to particularly thank Justice David Lillehaug. I want to congratulate you on a marvelous career, many great things awaiting you, of course. All to the debaters in particular, we are here because we're inspired by you and the tremendous, tremendous things that you've shown us and the promise that you hold for the future. When I was in high school, my high school debate coach, who had debated at Augustana College in Sioux Falls with David Lillehaug, said, if I was lucky someday, I might be as good as David Lillehaug. And you, in a few years, will have people talking about you the same way. The sort of work that you're doing in debate, you are inspiring other students, but right now you're inspiring us. So the winner of this year's great debate is the negative on a narrow vote. And so we thank you, students. We thank you for your work. And I hope all of us leave this morning inspired as I am. The world presents us with deep and persistent challenges, but we have a great opportunity by investing in people. And I want to thank everyone who's answering that call by donating, sponsoring, supporting, and caring for our young people. And debate is one of the important ways that we're making sure that young people learn and are educated and learn, importantly, in this day and age, about the importance of civil debate and about science and about education. So thank you for attending. We hope to see you in person next year. And on behalf of Augsburg University and the Board of Regents, I want to thank all of you for participating. Godspeed to all of you. Thanks so much.
Congratulations to all of you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Good job.